Yeah, so on Monday, we talked to Dr. Mihaela Ulreu. She is the head of Impact Institute from IOHK, and she liked the idea. And she told us maybe Charles will be a little fish in the ecosystem. So we presented our presentation slides. And if we can have time today, I would also like to present to you all.
Yeah, that will be great.
Yeah.
I think it's great.
Did I miss anything?
Yeah, let's see. I think that today Melanie is with us. Hey, Melanie, we're waiting for the boss.
You're waiting for yourselves then.
No, everyone is a boss here. So everyone is a boss here. No, but
yes, self-bosses.
Yeah, I think what's great is that basically through the work we are doing, everyone here, we started to establish a direct relationship with the impact team of IOG. And in this sense, actually, Jem reached directly to Mihaela, and he arranged the meeting. And so it's Mihaela, but also Melanie and myself, we had a call a few days before with the team. And they are amazed from the, what's happening in the community and all the things that we are doing. And I think it's great. And we'd like to have a continuous meetings and see what's going on and basically see how they can help, right? So I think that's really excellent. Yeah, and it was amazing that Mihaela said herself that the dream of Charles is to be a little fish. So he can join to be a little fish with us. That will be wonderful.
Yeah, you probably have seen the interaction that I had with Dr. Mihaela as well. She had a comment about Charles' message regarding saying that he was saying in a I think in a TEDx conference or something like that, he told that from now on it will be based on your initiatives rather than what I did in the past, but the whole ecosystem will be based on the community's decision and community's activities that they build and further develop the ecosystem. So we had an interaction. I reminded our Little Fish Foundation, and she again confirmed that Charles wants to be a little fish as well. So they are quite interested.
Yeah,
I would say.
So Melanie, if you don't mind, I mean, what we thought to do today, a lot of people felt that they want to present a few minutes update, Sean and Dimitri and the different, basically people suggested that they want to present today, and Jem wants to present the update. So yeah, I mean, I think Melanie, I mean, if you anything in the agenda, yeah.
No agenda. Just take it away. I'm finishing my breakfast, working on my first cup of tea. So I got up a little bit late. So
it's still dark for you.
How about Jem just starts with the presentation? Can he share the screen?
Yes. Let me open another instance. Simon, can you make this instance co-host?
And who else wants to just put up your hand? Who else wants to
Nori,
present? Sean, Peter, good, excellent. Then we just have sort of a lineup ready to go. And then if you want to put your hands down and raise hands if you have questions, might be less confusing. I know that it's YouTube for now. Is Sean in the group? Sean here yet?
We'll probably join.
Okay.
Yeah, and also Peter, obviously, and Nori have something also very interesting to present to us and suggest to us. I mean, we have quite exciting meeting today. A lot of inspiring, inspiration. Take it, Jem.
Thank you. Yoram, I would like to start with a personal story. I have been a scuba diver since the age of 17. And the first spot I dived was near a small town in the Mediterranean Sea. I remember seeing so many lobsters, maybe more than 40 or 44 that I remember. I visited that spot after 2 years. There were few of them left. And 10 years later, I was again at the same place and there were none. And pollution made sure I couldn't see beyond 2 meters. In the past, I remember I was seeing maybe more than 100 meters in the Mediterranean Sea. You know, we all have similar experiences. Our planet is in the midst of 6th mass extinction event, and we need to take action as soon as possible. The war against the climate change is a global, but our battles are local. Our failure of cooperation results in a tragedy of the commons. This is humanity's greatest challenge. Yet conventional organizations are totally ineffective. Governments and international organizations are influenced by interest groups like the fossil fuel industry and the military industry complex. Meanwhile, most NGOs don't have the scale or the power to drive change. They lack of transparency, inclusiveness, and accountability. We don't know how they spent their money. We can't participate freely, and we can't verify their actions. Our solution is to create a DAO of like-minded and like-hearted, as Malan says, people who will take action to regenerate global commons. These people are the boots on the ground activists who put in time and work necessary but lack in resources. Global collaborators who provide help in their little ways, like with donations or with social awareness. And the technologists who create the systems that make this all possible. As Little Fish Foundation, our vision is to put power in the hands of the people to meet the needs of the people, animals, and planet. And our mission is to bring like-minded, like-hearted people together to take an action. Our objectives are to create a DAO that is open. This means that transparent and accountable in the donation and decision-making process. On time, getting money in the hands of people quickly as it's needed. On the ground, supporting the people who do the hard work. Global in scope, local in its effects. Technology is quickly transforming our society, as you know. The first transition was from the physical money to the digital like cash to the credit cards. The second has just begun. Cryptocurrencies are replacing payment systems, smart contracts are transforming business contracts, and Little Fish Foundation will transform the world of activism. In traditional funding mechanisms, there are no possibility to generate additional funds, but in blockchains, tokenization, staking, and NFTs may generate additional funds, and it will be transparent and open source. So why are we doing it on Cardano? Let me explain. We are a part of the Catalyst community, as you know. This is where like-minded people who share a vision we can meet. Cardano offers us the transparency, new methods of generating funds, and global community of passionate individuals. This is a tentative map. I'm sorry, it's passing. I think there's a problem here. When too many people work on the same sheet in PowerPoint, it has some problems. I will fix it and send it to you, okay?
Honest, Jim, I didn't touch it, honestly.
Not Melanie's.
As I know, I can, just a second, I can stop the presentation and have it from here, if it's also okay for you. Why Cardano? As you know, we are a part of the Catalyst community. This is where like-minded people who share vision we can meet. This is the milestones. Let me try to bring it a little bit bigger. I'm sorry. We plan to have a, first of all, no one can create a DAO when they start this initiative. So people must get together to form up a DAO, and they must create the white papers, tokenomics, and other stuff. And they must decide what to do in some conditions. So we, in the DAO part in Cardano, you know, we all have problems, and we don't know the solutions yet. So I think we will be building the DAO together with the community. Let me try to explain the donation cycle. First of all, we will accept the donation proposals on our site or someplace, I don't know. And there will be a voting by the community. Community is, I can say that there are activists, stakers, and donators will form up the community. And I think every one of them will have the voting rights. So after that, the funding will start. And we will request evidence from the activists, so how they spent their money. And after that, the evidence validation will start, and we will refine this process when we get the results from the experiment. You know our team, it's Cardano for Climate, and everybody from here is also welcome to join Little Fish Foundation. This is our steps. In the phase one, we try to build the community, and we will design all the aspects of the DAO and the regulations and the fundamentals. After that, we will have the phase two. This is the implementation of the infrastructure, where coders or developers will be in charge, and the third phase is creating the DAO. What are the next steps? On every Monday at 7 p.m. we will have meetings, and we also want you to come to that meetings to talk about Little Fish Foundation. I'm sorry, that's an incomplete slide, and I will fix them and I will send them to you. Sorry for the interruption. That's all. Thank you.
Good.
You always
Thank
blow
you.
me away with your presentations. I know you see what doesn't work perfectly for you, but from my perspective, it's like, wow, you know, absolutely beautiful, absolutely
Thank
beautiful.
you.
And I know you're so top notch, you know, and used to being up here, but you know, this is way beyond whatever I imagined would be happening 3-4 months after we began. So
yeah.
and it's so cool because everybody is bringing their own little piece to the puzzle and making this an incredible picture. Edwin, do you have a question?
Hey, yes, I have a question. So I'm on my mobile, so my camera, I don't know, it's strange with my camera here. So my question actually is, I saw the presentation, but I didn't get how you are actually helping. So how, so maybe I miss it, or, but I didn't get how actually this will help, you know, like the climate change at all. So I understand that it's a DAO, then you'll vote and all this stuff. But in the end, what are the actions? Are then defined just by the DAO, or do you have also like a mission already set or something like this?
Thanks for the question too. Sorry, Jem, before you go on, I just want to say that any question that you come up with is a good one because it helps us build out. It means that there's something not clear and we're going to build it out more. So thank you so much, anybody that wants to ask questions. We're not afraid of them. Jem, sorry.
Thank you. Yeah, you're welcome. Let me clarify. We will support the sustainable development goals activities. So when something happens in any place on the earth, like someone is cutting the trees or someone wants to teach something to the African people, and we will all together have votes on that, and we will collect money. How do we do that? We will collect the money by selling our tokens, by donations, by NFTs, and by the help of stake pools. Every epoch, when somebody puts their money to the stake pool, we will take the rewards and we will turn back the main amount to the supporter back. And we will use the rewards to support the activities on the ground. So we will all decide how to distribute it, how to vote, how to make it happen. They are not clear yet, but we will all make it possible.
Yeah, and I would just say that we want, I mean, the idea of Jem also is to start by trying. So we are going to start basically, you know, where we want to join, and we are going to have a weekly meeting to discuss the, you know, the process, the rules and the governance and all of this. But we start by trying. We all can put some money, start suggesting some activities on the ground that we know, vote on it, and basically start the process step by step. And through that, learn and build the governance in a few months and the rules and kind of the rules of the community and, you know, how we decide, how we vote, how we suggest a new project, how we verify that the money gets to the right place. All of these things just learning by doing, basically, together. And then start scaling it, as Jem said, with different revenue models and so on. Does that make sense? And it's really so early stage that really everyone is welcome to come and be part of creating that. And what was amazing with Mihaela, she said, I mean, that's the dream of Charles to do something like that. I mean, so we really touch on a point where we are trying to create something from the ground, which I guess it's a dream of, I mean, it can be amazing that we know that the money that we give go directly to a target that we care about, instead of with transparency and traceability. Yeah, and we do it kind of by the community instead of giving money that we don't know where it goes and what's the impact of the money that we support something. Yeah, it can be amazing to do it together. And the idea came by Jem, and we are just joining to help him. So
then it's still not clear for me, like you'll gather the money and then you'll do by yourself this, like going and plant trees and change something, or?
No.
So imagine that each one of us, we have 50 people here, each one of us decide whatever, give as much as they want, 10 euros, 20 euros, 100, whatever he does, whatever each one wants. So they have kind of a treasury. They're starting to build a treasury. And then each one of us can suggest, hey, I know a project in Canada that does this and this. I know a project there that does this and this, right? And we kind of put it into the process. We vote. Through the process, we learn, we decide. A lot of things that we need to decide, right? How we decide how much money to give to who. If all the money goes to someone, or we decide to split it between, or we start making the decision in a basically monthly processes. And then we just do it. We provide them the money, we make sure how we follow up on the money, and we start building all the procedures accordingly. So does that make sense?
Thank you very much. One more question, maybe. What's then the difference between a stake pool that is a charity stake pool and then the whole this foundation? Because in the end, also the stake pools are doing the same, as far as I know. I had also a stake pool like in the beginning of the year, and because of marketing and the cost of the server, I had to close this charity stake pool. But what's the difference? Because I know that are also like few stake pools that are doing this, and they have a lot of staking addresses on their pool.
Well, we don't know how much revenue we can get. This is not exact for us, but we plan to have if we will have more than 1 million accounts, so it's reasonable to have a stake pool.
I think the big difference between a stake pool and Little Fish is that with a stake pool, the stake pool operator decides to donate a certain percentage to a charity. But with the Little Fish Foundation, the stake pool revenue is just part of it, but it's really the community and the human governance aspects of how do we decide who to fund, how do we vote on things, how do we deploy treasury funds. And I think it's larger than just a single stake pool. It could be like multiple ones, or because it's an entire community, and we're hoping that it grows to hundreds and hundreds of people involved.
Yeah, and saying that too, the stake pools could be part of this foundation too. Those pools that want to donate to do good, they could become part of this. Their rewards go into lump sum, and the community is the eyes around the world, the eyes and the ears around the world, and that can be spread out. So, you know, the big thing is with a stake pool that gives them away, bless their hearts, this is such a great thing to do. My first stake pool that I donated to, same thing, you know, and it draws people in, but we could do more and do bigger and self-govern, because a stake pool decides where it goes, right? Okay, I'm going to do this month, and here it is. And we don't really know if they do or not. You know, I would trust they would, but you know, it could be possible that it doesn't go that way. This way would be more of a self-governance community decision, the decentralized organization.
Yeah, that's the big thing for me is you have Greenpeace, and then it evolves into something like Kiva. I think Jim had a slide like that. And then now we're like, instead of a centralized aid organization, we're trying to do, how do we make a decentralized one using the tools that we have on blockchain, and have a lot of voices deciding how to deploy that money.
Does that make sense, Edwin? Are you seeing that, or?
Yes, I'm seeing that, and I think it's a really good thing that you're trying to do here. Now I understand a little bit better the whole concept. So the thing is, I'm running also a project on Cardano called World of Pirates. It's a game, and we have like a competition or like challenge, or I don't know how to put it, like a campaign, let's say it like that, that for now we are donating to Sea Shepherd. So maybe in the future we can see a collaboration with you guys that all our NFTs or the revenue from our NFTs will go into this foundation. That's the reason I'm asking also the questions for the future when maybe we can collaborate on this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
well, there's links back and forth, right? We are the human sensors in the community, and you're doing something and somebody goes, oh, I'm really interested in this, or here's a project that needs some help. You let us know. You're part of the foundation, and you start letting us know. When we started Cardano for Climate, I had no idea of so many things going on, and then face to face, we learn about things going on in Sri Lanka, in Ghana, where natural resources are being stripped by people that don't know any better. They have nothing else. The economy is so bad, they're just naturally cutting down trees, taking out water, and the resources are being extracted by no fault of their own. So there's so many things that we can learn from each other and connect. Sorry to interrupt, thanks.
Yeah, but basically come on board, be part of designing that. I mean, it's not, be part of that, and then we design. I mean, that's the important stages now. I mean, every stage is important, but we want to design it together with the community, with everyone, basically, that want to join. So come Monday meeting, on Monday we start discussing the white paper and the rules and what we do and how we do, and every Monday we will start basically building that. And we'll try to build it by doing, not just by the concept, but actually starting small and start doing.
Tyrone, you asked about the link to the website. Is that the Cardano
Yeah,
for Climate or the Little Fish? Or do we have a separate one?
Yes, we have separate ones.
Okay. And then
Yeah.
Little Fish. Okay, good. Tyrone, are you part of the Cardano for Climate group? You're connected? Sorry, and Jem, would you mind stopping screen share and then we
Yeah,
can see
sure.
faces again? Perfect. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Yeah, I have something to tell regarding what I could reflect on the questions of Edwin. I think in Little Fish case, we have focused on the individual actions. So these individuals should be, and in that way we can take the attention and contribution of the crowd. So this will be like a crowdfunding, helping to those individuals who actually work for the benefit of the whole ecosystem. So I understand that in the case of stake pool operators, support for good initiatives is a bit difficult for them as well, because they already focus on some technical issues and they may not have this network in the ground working with activists or NGOs directly. This is really different social action and work to do. So in that case, we will fill a gap to bring those different things together. Technicians, just like Jem explained, technologists and activists and NGOs and all different dimensions come together. Yeah, once again, I would like to thank you to Edwin, but in our platform, I think we should ensure that these individuals are really in the center of the platform, not the organizations or not even ourselves, but every little fish is in the center. And people will enjoy to be little fish. I'm a little fish. Hey, I come with an idea and I would like to do a small thing, not a big thing to change whole world, but small actions really matters. Thanks.
Well, it gives us power, doesn't it? Knowing, and then it's just taking that first little step and then another little step. And all of a sudden there's 3 of you and you're starting to get some flow going, and 10 of you, and it does become something good. And it does, it's important to remember little things count. Yeah, wow.
I have a question. If
Go for it.
So I understand, the kind of decentralized Greenpeace, the kind of the elevator speech, it makes sense. So I wonder, when it comes to actually applying it, growing an audience, does it make sense that this is something that you go to an existing organization and say, hey, why don't you use this as your engine, right? In which case you might have multiple funds, or does it make sense to actually grow an audience for the product? In which case some of the funding would go to marketing costs, but that actually is the way that the product would work. And so I wonder if anybody can address that question.
Yeah, like you mean like Greenpeace, for example, or which type of organization?
Well, I mean, when this is ultimately, I mean, I see as like some kind of accountability and fund management system, right? So do you go to existing organizations and say, hey, why don't you use this?
So
or do you go off it?
No, it's a good question. So yeah, I mean, I think we don't know yet, but I mean, in general, in some of us, I work, for example, for a few years in an NGO, in a big NGO. And I can tell, and very nice one, incredible people, everything really amazing. But there's really issue with transparency and traceability and impact and what's happening on the ground, how much go to the organization. There's a lot of issues there. And really, but incredible people. I'm not, and I think so. The question, to answer your question, I think we were trying to build, I mean, all of us together, a model that works, and on that you build some innovation business models. I think the growth of that eventually, once you crack the model and you crack the processes and who makes decisions and how decisions are being made and how you track traceability, and then you start building the system around that. I think then part of the growth strategy could be, yeah, let's promote it to external organization, because we want to get as many people as possible, right, to come and be part of this. But even Catalyst, if we just bring in the beginning everyone, it goes too fast, then it will lose a lot of the values we are trying, because it takes time to get into the mindset. There's a lot of learning process and changing of mindset. So I think that that's my view only, but I think this is a good phase to start doing it ourselves, start understanding the mechanism we imagine and a new mechanism. And then part of the growth could be, yeah, let's introduce it to external people and everyone that want to join and make an impact. Welcome. Does that make sense? Or?
Yeah, it does. But I guess that does make sense. My more like a little bit more specifically, it's like that. It was I'm sorry, I'm not trying to pronounce your name.
Goram. I guess.
That's
Yes.
good, yeah.
Yes, and I said, the quote, "I'm a little fish," right? So that's actually means that there's like, this thing becomes a brand of some kind. You know what I mean? It's branded in some way. Whereas what I thought when I was thinking about how to get people using this, my immediate thought was you would have people might never even know they were using this system, but multiple organizations had their funds in it. In which case, all you gotta say to someone in an organization is, well, hey, you're having these problems. This thing will solve it. These guys are using it over there. These guys over here are using it. Oh, okay. And my question is it? Maybe it's not even. Maybe the design isn't even there yet. But if it's designed in such a way that multiple organizations that have completely different goals can all use the same product simultaneously and allocate their resources through it, or if it's one or becomes one thing where little fish are against nuclear, or little fish are for nuclear, or whatever, right?
No, it could be different verticals in the future, right? But coming from the community, I mean, I think an organization can join. I mean, again, I don't know how it will develop, and we'll need to try, but I think everyone will be welcome to join and be part of the community and part of participating. And yeah, I think as we grow, there will be different verticals, right? Some people will be interested more in supporting tree, deforestation issues. Some people will be interested in supporting regenerative agriculture issues. But then I hope it will be able to duplicate to different areas. But when start again building the mechanism and systems, making sure that it's efficient, and we build the transparency and all of that inside, and then we'll scale it. I mean, again, if you look on the Cardano for Climate, I mean, we started 3 months ago, and now we're 150 people dealing with this type of already projects, and then the next step probably will continue in this direction. So just by getting people in and inspired and doing the things, then we need to decide how is the scale. But hopefully we're able to inspire many people to come and be part of it when they see the process and transparency, because I think a lot of people don't have the transparency. This is why Jem came up with the idea of where their money is going, and they still want to feel good and donate and help. Yeah.
Tafara, you have a question?
Before going to next question, yeah. May I tell regarding what Jordan said? I was talking to a director of United Nations. They have 5 level directors, and I was talking to one of them who has the 4th level already in a higher position actually. And he told me that we have a lot of decentralization discussions in the United Nations already. It is there, but United Nations is so slow to take actions because they don't have really power. They don't have power in terms of managing money. They don't have budget. They are all dependent on the countries they get donated, right? So all they try to do is that they just try to increase the capacity of the governments, states, and the professionals there. And but you know what we are going to do? I think that we will just raise the question more regarding to these big organizations. In the end, we don't know, maybe they want to be a little fish just like us. Maybe because of the pressure that we do, that they want to become a small fish. I cannot ensure that. I think what we should focus on that is we increase the question mark about these huge organizations. They are already there, big fishes. There are questions about them, but we will increase this question mark, I think, about them. And we shouldn't be necessarily interested in bringing them on board, but we should show something alternative to the people on the ground who would like to do good things, who are donating to OECD or these huge organizations, you know, but they are very slow and they are spending most of their time to the people, not to the, you know, direct beneficiaries. So this is my idea regarding what you said, Gaardran. I hope it makes sense.
Yeah, I think it does, which fits more on the kind of little fish would have a voice, right?
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
Because if
And
the
more
big fish come in,
direct.
the big fish would dictate it.
Yeah, and more direct too. If you think about, you know, calling your local government and getting them to do action, take action on anything, how likely is that going to happen? Right? It's not. There's such a disconnect from the upper echelon of society and the ground. We're the ground. We're going to keep connected to the ground. Tafara, did you have a question? Thanks. Somehow you're muted. Still can't hear you.
Now? Okay. Okay. I really like the idea of involving the little person, the individual. That's really, I think, the most relevant point in this one. But I was also wondering what's going to be the relationship between this effort and the catalyst in general, and also with Cardano for climate. What's going to be that one? And also there are efforts, for example, like Kenrika, this ADWA quadratic funding system, where each contribution would bring more contribution from other funds. Have you thought of, for example, using that kind of mechanism, quadratic funding mechanisms?
Who's going to answer that? Because I don't know the answer to that, if it's been thought of.
Maybe I could pitch in for this one. At this point, we are extremely early. Everything that we're talking about is just ideas. And we haven't really got down to the specific details of how we're going to do the funding, how we're going to automate it. I mean, it's all very, very early stage at this point. It's just an idea, and everything, pretty much everything that we're talking about is subject to change. But if you have any ideas related on this topic, we would love it if you could come into our Discord and share it, so we could go and check and see how we can use that information.
Well,
And to-
he already gave, I guess, quadratic funding. I have never heard about this. This could be really interesting for us. If you can give a little bit more information.
I think Kenrick have a proposal for ADA quad. I can.
So we'll try and get connected and look that up, Tafara. And if you can give us that information, that'd be great.
Yep.
Speaking to your question about what makes us different from Project Catalyst, I look at Project Catalyst as sort of as a template, and that we're creating these little templates in these pockets, you know, these decentralized organizations. Ours, we see a big gap in on the ground action isn't getting funded, and we're figuring out a way to get that done. So Project Catalyst is the umbrella. We're just another little umbrella inside. Same idea, similar idea, but our own as well. And I think that's the whole idea behind Project Catalyst, is that we, and like Swarm is a group that came out of Project Catalyst, and we're almost like a little, another beehive of activity going off somewhere. We're similar, and yet we're different, and a different focus.
Yeah, and then regarding Cardano for Climate, I mean, it's a project that came from you know, from JM and started to work on that, and we just said, I mean, we love the project, and everyone welcome to come and join and take it. I mean, so and be part of that. Cardano for Climate is going to continue and support and try to promote many other projects like that, and this is the objective, to get inspired, help each other, and bring more innovative products forward. So this is one example.
Well, it helps put us in a position to start something bigger than just a Telegram channel. We're starting to have the power to be able to make a difference, and we'll work on this. We'll support other projects. It's not that Cardano for Climate as it is becomes this DAO. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. We don't know where that goes. But for now, we're going to get this in the work and see where that goes. And maybe the community comes on board, maybe not. We'll figure that out as we go. The big thing is to take the first step, to become a little fish and just do something. So it's not perfect to begin with, and it never will be. And when we have a community come together, everybody's got different ideas and different perspectives, and we'll try and bring those together and get them worked out. Does that answer that, Tafara?
Yes, in a way. Just to add a bit of question, just to clarify for myself. Are you planning to take individual projects, like, for example, climate projects and community projects, and vote on funding them, individual projects, or?
Why not? We don't know yet, I don't think.
Okay.
Right? It could be an element of it. It could be that, you know, we form a template that other organizations could use, because it's all open source too, right, Jim? Everything is open source. So, you know, this could be, you know, something that goes to a local community, and they can use this sort of template to decide what they're doing and where, you know, start a circle economy, anything. I don't know where this will go. And it's like this, the shape of the snail. We start something, and then every time somebody comes on, you've just added another piece to it with your connection to the ADA. Is it ADA Quest? I saw in the chat, Tafara, you've added another piece to it, and it
just quad.
Okay, so then it just adds and adds and adds. We don't know what it will become.
Thank you. I think that answers.
Nori, are you around, or should we go on to Peter? Oh, you are
Yeah,
there.
I'm around.
Would you like to
Sorry.
present? Because we should I'm mindful of the time, and yeah, go for it.
Okay, hold on, let me bring it up.
That's good because I'm still working on my presentation.
Can you see my presentation slide, or did I share the wrong screen?
You're
seeing your
sharing your calendar, and it looks awful busy. You better talk to your boss there, Nori. He's got you too fully scheduled by the looks of it.
Yes, I did that last time. How do I keep sharing my calendar? Okay, how about this time? There we go.
Great.
All right, so I want to talk to you all about, it's a temporary name. I just called Sakura because I had to call it something. But it's basically a community pool network for Cardano for climate. I'm sure some of you have seen the Ryuki proposal in Fund 7, which is also a community pool network. The thing with that is Ryuki's a closed pool. They've selected 13 or 14 pools, and they're kind of a closed thing. So the idea is to take that idea and spawn off other community pool networks and keep them in a manageable size. So I'm just putting forth a proposal for Cardano for climate to create a second one. So what is a community pool network? It's kind of a first draft of a decentralized organization. And what it is there's projects, and each project fires up a stake pool. And then as a group, we combine to form a pool, a network of stake pools and projects. And the important thing is that the stake pools are tied to projects in our community. So we have collective marketing, and we can support each other and kind of have the benefits of being a community rather than a single stake pool in a single project. We work together. And one of the key differences between just a stake pool and this community pool network is that there will be a shared treasury. And I'll get into that in a second. And why stake pools? So right now, projects are kind of on the 3-month catalyst cycle, putting in proposals, doing all the writing, and then doing the CA work, and hopefully get the votes, and then you launch, and then almost right away you back into proposal writing mode. And it almost feels like you're constantly, the reason you're in Catalyst is to write proposals, to get funding, to write more proposals, and that's an endless treadmill. So we have an alternative. Cardano has stake pools. Stake pools reward the operators. And this may be a viable way of getting off the proposal train, at least partially, or at least have some kind of base level revenue coming in to support projects, so you don't have to get into every fund to continue. And you just do that for the new things or new ideas, or when you have the energy to do so. And I know some projects out there are like, I have no idea how to run a stake pool. So I just wanted to throw this slide in. There are organizations and people out there, Loris, and I see Brian in here. So Brian's part of the salmon pool community, and we run stake pool as a service as well. So we're running a couple of stake pools for other people. So there are ways of doing that. And I put a link into chat, the last one, SPO supporting community projects. And that's an initiative to try and figure out, one of the problems is there's a lot of small stake pools that are just not successful because they can't attract the delegation they need. And I think that was mentioned earlier. He set up a stake pool, it didn't work, it was too expensive, shut it down. That's a really sad state of affairs for our decentralization of the network, because this is kind of the core protocol level stuff. So the SPO supporting community projects proposal is to come up with a system to pair small stake pools with really good projects, so that together they can create value, so that the stake pool operator can help to decentralize the network, but the rewards are also diverted to the project, to support a project, so both sides win. So that's kind of we're forming some standards around that. The Ryuki network has a set amount that stake pool as a service takes versus the project. So those are definitely things that we can discuss. And then I just wanted to say, as we form human connections, we can mirror that in our network connections. So, and these aren't the actual connections in this diagram. I just threw a bunch of words up and drew a bunch of lines connecting them. But I just wanted to visualize that as Cardano for Climate or Little Fish or Mammoth DAO or Littercoin or any of these organizations have human connections back and forth. It would be really neat to mirror that in our relay network so that each of these projects is connected to peer relays of the other project. And kind of, we could, if we look on the Cardano relay map, you would see our organization light up with connections to each other rather than to just random relays. That would be really cool to put. So that was just one idea I wanted to throw in there. And how do we start? Each project that wants to participate starts their own stake pool. One of the challenges of starting a stake pool is that it takes a fair bit of ADA, which might not be viable for some projects that are getting off the ground. There's a 500 ADA registration fee, and you need an initial pledge to start. And the Ryuki network has started with a 2,500 ADA pledge. So that's a total of 3,000 ADA you need to start each stake pool. And what happened in the other community is a lot of people in the community stepped up and said, you're a really great project. You don't have the startup funds. I will loan it to you. And there was a lot of different creative ways that happened. The coolest one, I think, was for, I forget which group it was, but somebody loaned them the ADA and somebody else put 2 unsig NFTs into a smart contract and then as collateral. And then once that ADA is returned, then those NFTs go back. Otherwise, they belong to the person who donated. And I think that's really cool because NFTs have value and there's a creative way of doing that exchange. So that was really neat. So, and the proof of community is really around figuring out a way that we're bringing in projects that actually participate, have shown value to the community, and aren't just some people wanting to get in just for the revenue stream. We need some kind of proof of community so the SPOs know that they're supporting projects that actually matter. And then on the SPO side, we probably want to come up with a system to do check their systems, make sure they have best practices around security and their configuration is properly running and all that, just to say, yes, these people know what they're doing and know how to run a stake pool and have some kind of certification process around that as well. And mentioned before, to run a successful stake pool, you spend a lot of time marketing. You need to get the delegation, and that's really hard. So as a community pool network, we have the combined audience of all of us to market to the entire population that we interact with, as well as I think with the purpose and mission driven stuff that we're doing around climate change, we can get IOG and Cardano Foundation to delegate with us because some of their delegation goals are to delegate to community projects and their stake pools. But I think their challenge is they don't know who is a viable real stake pool project to delegate to. And we can bring a lot of legitimacy saying, look, we're a community of 15 projects and 150 people, and this is kind of what we've accomplished. And it'll make it really easy for them to just say, okay, we can delegate to this community pool network. And then in the future, and hopefully really soon, the concept of delegation splitting, where you can say, I have one wallet, but I want to delegate to these 5 pools, is coming. So we can make it really easy if people care about SDGs or climate change to say, hey, delegate to the community pool network for Cardano for Climate. Here's how you do it. And then all that delegation happens very simply. So that's another thing to consider. And then what I find the most interesting part is the community treasury. The way Ryuki is working right now is member pools donate 10% of their rewards to a community treasury. So 90% of their rewards they use to run their project, 10% goes into a common treasury. And then each member pool and project gets to vote on how these funds are deployed. And this gets really close to the little fish stuff, is like, how do you decide how to run a treasury? And maybe this is a great place to actually use little fish as kind of the treasury that each project contributes into. But yeah, but it's for rapid funding so that you don't have to wait for the 3-month catalyst cycle to fund projects, or if you have emergency funding for somebody on the ground that needs it, or even non-blockchain. So you're funding outside of the ecosystem to people that aren't even involved with blockchain, but they're out there on the ground fighting deforestation or doing other things that we want to support. But the point is that as a community, we can decide, and we don't have to go to the Catalyst community to deploy those funds. We have our own treasury to do so. And then I just want to mention Yuki. I put the links in chat, but it's a really interesting set of proposals that describe how Yuki works and the kind of principles behind it. So there's the Yuki proposal. There's a community pool network, and then the mission-driven SPO networks, which are all very applicable to what we're doing here. And then the fourth one is SPOs supporting community projects. And that's really a proposal about how to support the small SPOs and connect them to community projects to help both sides kind of survive and decentralize and create a synergy that might be much more powerful than each one working by themselves. So yeah, Sakura is next. My proposal is to create a Cardano for Climate community pool network and try something new. Maybe not new because Ryuki already exists, but something different from Catalyst. And that said, we don't have to follow the Ryuki model. We can do something completely different and try. But I think the model of bringing in SPOs and projects together and then forming a community around that mutually supports is really cool. And as an example, Felix went into the Ryuki network 2 days ago and said, hey, let's try an experiment. Who wants to donate 200 ADA into the treasury to kickstart it? And every network pool that was there was like, we can kick in 200, we can kick in 200. So in about 6 hours, there was about 2,500 ADA in the treasury committed from these groups. So it was very fast, very painless. And it was an amazing kind of example of how the community comes together for a common purpose. And his ask wasn't even for a purpose. It was like, let's seed the treasury so we can get this thing started. And everybody just jumped in. So I think the community is the key part of this, and Cardano for Climate is a really strong community, maybe even one of the strongest in the Catalyst space. So I thought this would be a natural place to start our own community pool network. So that's kind of the presentation, and open to questions, thoughts coming.
I see Dimitri has one. Your hand up. Go ahead.
Yeah. So for example, if I understand you correctly, if I'm having my solar cooker project, does that mean the solar cooker project has to start its own stake pool, or the solar cooker project could get funding from this bunch of stake pools who, if they opt to fund the project?
It could work either way. If you want to participate at the fullest level, then you would start your own stake pool, contribute part of the funds into the treasury, and then you would also have a vote on how that's spent. But like you said, if you're too small and that just seems like a lot of overhead, some of the options are stake pool as a service from some of the people who are offering that, or you can just apply for saying it would be great to get some donations similar to the Little Fish model, and then you could just be a recipient rather than a participant. I think it's super flexible on how you want to go about it.
You want to go ahead, Nori? You can take over if you like. Tafara has a question.
So, okay, Tafara.
Should I continue?
Yeah.
Yes. I have a question. I think I'm always asking from my own or my community's problem. We have been trying to start stake pool in Ethiopia, and one of the biggest problem is really the technical knowledge problem. Do you have any plan to offer, for example, those kind of things?
Yes. So as I mentioned, let me go back to that slide if I can. There is a growing number of people offering stake pool as a service, where they have the technical expertise and knowledge to start a stake pool, and more importantly, make sure that it's configured properly and running and monitored 24/7. And so this option isn't like the operators actually need to pay for servers, and they have some operational costs so that the project won't get all of the rewards. So you'll be doing some kind of revenue sharing, but it is a way of being able to have a stake pool, run your project, and not have to spend your time running a stake pool if that's not where the value add is or where your technical expertise lies. So that is definitely an option. A second option is, if that is of interest, then through this community, we can probably have educational sharing and teach each other how to run a stake pool, because there are several SPOs in this group, and just share that knowledge and be able to help other people start up their own stake pools.
That's actually my question. It's nice to have stake pools as service, but not all afford to pay for it. But they can run their own stake pools if they have the knowledge to do it. And I was looking, myself, I'm not a coder, but I run this incentivized testnet. But after that, I had to, due to job, I couldn't follow up. But later on, I was trying to get back to running the stake pool from home. But I find it really very difficult to find, for example, the documentation is outdated, and there is no really support for readily available support for those who want to do that. So I just wondered if you are planning to include that so that people who want to run their own stake pool from small machines, for example. And that was my question.
Yeah, I think that's a really good idea. And as a community pool network, since everybody's running their own pool, it makes sense to be our support organization for each other, and maybe create a stake pool operator channel where we can ask questions and help each other, point to latest documentation, say, hey, version 1.31 is out, and if you don't upgrade by next Monday, you're gonna be broken, or things like that, to help each other run the network is a very, very good idea.
It sounds like there's an educational piece missing. You know, if somebody wants to get into a stake pool, where do they go? Like where do they get the information to become a stake pool operator? Does that exist?
Yeah, there's a number of resources. IOG itself has Stake Pool School, which it runs, which isn't the most up-to-date stuff, but it's pretty good at giving the basics. There's a number of online tutorials, like CoinCashew has a really famous one that everybody uses, but it just takes you through the basics. And then it's almost like there's enough information for you to get started, but to take you to that next level professionalism, a lot of that seems to be closely held to people's chests or lost in 1,000 different Discord conversations and in little pieces. So
it does kind of need to be one-on-one, get to a certain point, and then it's you're tailoring the solution to the problems. Yeah. And I don't know if Brian wants to pipe in, but we discover new things all the time, like, oh my God, that's how that works. And it's not like overtly out there as information, so you kind of find it as you go, and
just little tricks or best practices or things like that. I think there's a huge opportunity, maybe if we have a community of pools, to really collaborate on building out decent documentation for the rest of the community.
And you've mentioned little fish. Is there a possibility that this could become a bigger part of little fish, or do you want to keep it as a, separate? Like, I'm wondering, is there a governance layer to it, or are you working on that? Would it help to put the two together?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. It might be really cool to say maybe little fish is the governance layer. And we combine the two. And that way little fish has a funding source from 15, 20 different project stake pools. And then we have a governance model to decide how to spend those funds. I think it's a really good combination.
Jim, do you have a plan already for a stake pool? Is that already in the works?
Yeah, yesterday we talked to Nori. We were talking for a month, maybe more. And we were also planning to have stake pool as a service. And when we heard Nori is doing the same, we decided not to publish a proposal about that one. And afterwards, yesterday, we talked about it, and it will be very nice for little fish. And we should expect to see this implementation in little fish. So as Nori said, we will be able to get all the projects that we support funding. Thank you, Nori, by the way.
Sebastian said that yesterday, parallel convergence. People are working on the solutions in parallel, and they actually shouldn't, parallel lines should not meet. They should not converge. But if you're looking at it from the right perspective, they do come together. And it feels like we are at the right perspective, and we're starting to see some of these solutions come together. Really, really cool. I just see it fleshing out, and I wasn't sure if this was in the works already or what, but I think you guys are well connected for sure. Whew. Very interesting. So,
yeah,
sorry.
Yeah, I was just about to say, we in Sri Lanka also don't have a stake pool, but starting a stake pool is one of my goals. So at one of the funding, I hope to put a proposal to get some funding and the know-how to run a stake pool over here. So we have technical people, but they also got to be paid, and also the machines and all that need to be bought. So hopefully I can acquire some funding to set up the first stake pool here. So from that stake pool, like you said, we can possibly join the community pool and also get funding and provide funding for our own, like the solar cooker project and the other projects that we have in mind. But that stake pool is a separate idea that we really want to start here.
Well, think about it, every project that comes in, if they can create their own stake pool, become a part of a community pool, they become self-sustainable. And if we have the resources to be able to help people do that, we're not only impacting the Cardano network by pools, we're not creating competition, but we're actually creating cooperation around different projects. Yeah, that'd be pretty cool to see that layer added to it. Your expertise, Nori, being shared around with Dimitri, Tafara, whoever else is coming in, why not give them the ability and the support to be able to create their own stake pools? I don't know, it seems like a logical thing to me.
Also, not only the technical side, but how to convince people it's a worthwhile investment to buy ADA and put it into a stake pool, because here nobody knows about any of them. So that education part also we need to learn.
Yoram, did you have a question?
Yeah, for me, what's my concern a little bit, I mean, first of all, this is an amazing project, but my concern with the stake pool of the projects themselves is that it's kind of moving the focus of the stake pool, right? I mean, of the project. I mean, the project, Dimitri have a very specific focus, to do the solar cookers, and it's tough enough to launch a project, to scale a project, and now we have to start dealing also with stake pools to finance. So I don't know what's the approach around that, because yeah, I mean, you still need to, as you said, you need to build it, to market it, to manage it.
Yeah, agreed. So that's why, I mean, I personally wouldn't be running everything, but I'll have teams to handle, like you have the financial team, the marketing team, you have the production team, the sourcing team, and here you'd have the stake pool team as.
Yeah, well, I'm not speaking only about you, I'm speaking in general. I mean, the stake pool is basically kind of
well, if you think if you think about it, it becomes a part of, here's your project, you're starting to work on it, maybe a proposal, stake pool is another option. Not all at once, it's unless you're ready to jump into a stake pool, but it could be an option, part of the template. We've already done it in our own little fish. We started with something, and then we add the governance layer, and then sustainability. Maybe this becomes a template for other groups that want to, other circles, other snails, so to speak, that want to start elsewhere, like Dimitri's solar cooker. Oh my, it's too early in the morning.
I don't understand good enough how challenging it is, how much time you need to dedicate of your time. So I don't know good enough.
To answer that a little bit, Yoram, is if you absolutely don't want to divert your energy into running a stake pool, then the stake pool as a service can completely take that off your hands, and you have a team working for you that stands up and runs the stake pool. And the way we've set it up is you aren't paying for the stake pool up front. So if the stake pool is not generating any revenue, there's no fees. The fee structure is built around, once the delegation is there and the rewards start to come in, the operator shares in some of that revenue so that they can maintain their operational costs. And then the project starts to get revenue as well. So it's kind of, it's a plus on both sides for the operators as well as the project. But of course, if you are a project who's interested and have the technical expertise, standing up your stake pool would be much more revenue efficient, because you're not sharing that with a third-party operator. But you don't have to do it that way. You can just jump in.
But you will do it for the revenue source, basically, right?
Yeah.
And to put all the projects together, basically, will be a good marketing source for all of us together to take it out, which is amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So what would the initial cost?
Hosting provider, you're running a group of servers.
Sorry, Dimitri?
I was saying it's like a web hosting provider where the people who have the large servers and the fast bandwidth offer the service at a more efficient rate than my trying to run my own, my own server to host the website. So I guess it's like that. So maybe to be more cost efficient remains to be seen, I guess.
Yeah, and there's also different levels. You could start as stake pool as a service and then move into your own, or you could try your own, and then if it's too expensive and too hard, you can move into stake pool as a service. So I think as long as you get into the right organizational structure and you have ownership of your pool so that you're able to move it back and forth, then I think it's very flexible. Yeah.
So if I may ask, what sort of costs are involved to set up, and what are the monthly costs of doing a stake pool?
So the operating costs are the hardware, whether it's on-premise physical hardware or if you run it in the cloud. The cloud is generally a little more expensive, but it comes with benefits. Like if there's hardware failure, it's a press of a button, or it's automatic to switch it and recover. There's a lot of benefits to the cloud, but the cost, so most stake pools operate on about 340 ADA per epoch fee. The way the Yuki network is set up is that 340 is split in half between the operator and the project. So the operator gets half of the 340 per epoch, and then there's a 5% margin on the Yuki network pools, and from that 5% margin, 80% of that goes to the project and 20% to the operator. So the operator and the project can grow together. in a sustainable way, but the majority of the rewards go to the project.
So an epoch is 5 days, is that right?
Yes, an epoch is 5 days, and there's 73 of those per year.
And so every 5 days there'll be a profit of 170, you said.
Yes, if the pool has enough delegation that it's minting blocks every epoch.
Right. So to earn that 170 every 5 days, how many need to be there in the pool?
1 million gives you about a good chance, but 2 million is better. I've heard of pools with 4 or 5 million that didn't mint a block in an epoch. So it's random chance based, but the percentages are after 1 million, you're kind of minting on a fairly regular basis.
Bruno, thanks for your patience.
And
Go ahead.
Tafara has had his hand up for a long time as well.
Go too far.
I think he forgets to put his hand down
Yeah,
from
but
if my memory serves me. Sorry, I wasn't ignoring him. It looks kind of rude, doesn't it? It's like, oh, we're just going to skip over him. He talks too much.
I do.
Sorry.
I just have a question. Do you have link to this, to the SP or to the service?
To the stake pool as a service?
Yeah.
No, we have no marketing materials around that. We've been doing it as kind of a favor for projects that we're familiar with.
All right.
And there's still a question around offering that as a service and what the revenue structures, and it's still evolving. So we didn't want to be too premature with that, but within projects that we are familiar with, and we've been offering this as kind of an option. And like Jem said, we've been talking with his group to come together because there's different strengths there around security and key management and things that I think are really powerful. And the other group that I know that does this is run by Loris, who used to be the Catalyst Circle representative for SPOs. He probably runs stake pool as a service for about 20 different pools right now. And I've seen other people advertising it, but I can't comment on their services or what they offer or how reliable they are.
Okay, Bruno, you've got a question, and Peter, are you ready to present? Okay, awesome.
Yeah, no, I was just going to add to like the conversation a little bit. So just from my personal like experience and opinion, I feel like it's good that people who have a project partner with existing pools, because I feel like the market is already very saturated with pools, and there's a lot of big pools that are taking up, sorry, the kettle's making noise. A lot of big pools that are taking up like a lot of delegation, and they're kind of, you know, they're not really representing maybe a good cause that maybe people do feel passionate about, but they don't have the eyes, you know, on maybe a small pool that's doing a very important mission, or they're doing something really, you know, that they're really passionate about. So it's like providing kind of a link. So maybe a small pool already has a mission and you have a kind of coinciding mission, you could say, something that fits in. So maybe for you with the, I don't know, Dimitri, you were saying the gas cookers, not the gas cookers, I'm saying the solar cookers, I think it is. So maybe something like WeQuant. I don't know if you guys know WeQuant. These are very cool pool like that does like water wells and stuff like that in Africa, in a bunch of different places in sub-Saharan Africa. And it's like, that could be a perfect fit for you guys. So you guys are doing stuff that's very empowering to people in different ways, but it could be work hand in hand kind of thing. And I feel like that's just an idea, obviously, maybe not as specific as that, but you know, something you could think about, looking at other stake pools in a similar area that could even provide a marketing for you as well in both ways, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And I just put a link into there's a Fund 7 proposal around that very idea called SPO Supporting Community Projects. And that is specifically to link small stake pools that want to be mission driven with projects that need stake pools, and to have a two-way kind of collaboration and synergy around that. And then adding that to the community pool network idea, then we're spiraling up that kind of networking to another level. So yeah, my hope, and that's why we're not aggressively marketing stake pool as a service is that we support smaller stake pools and allow them to contribute and survive, because you hear a lot of stories of people firing up stake pools, they don't get enough delegation, and after 6 months they have to shut down, and that's a sad story. So let's cooperate and find ways to work together to support the whole ecosystem, because stake pool operators are important.
But I think there the key, as you mentioned, Nori, might be how we promote it to the community, right? And that's a key that we need also to figure out, because I'm sure, again, as you mentioned, Cardano for Climate is quite significant, and the projects are amazing projects that is happening in the ecosystem. So the question is how we promote all of this package to the resources basically that can stake, because we're not speaking about a lot of money overall, right? And I mean, it's a lot of money, but yeah, it's a reasonable amount that we can try to get. And then we can actually manage that as a community. We can manage it to make sure that everyone is kind of, can manage it somehow as a community also and support each other, right? To make sure everyone passes the limit, the required amount.
Is there a directory of stake pools yet or not?
If you go
Is
to
that coming?
ADA Pools has a list of all the pools and a number of different like pool.
But that's
monitoring
just
systems.
individual pools, but you're not talking, we're not talking about, because I see there's an African Stake Pool Alliance, ASPA, I believe.
Yeah,
So
ADA Pools has collections. They have the organizations and the alliances listed as well. So there's like Canadian Stake Pool Association and the extra small Stake Pool Association in Spakra.
But anyone doing what you're doing though, the idea you're doing with pooling resources?
Buki is the only other example, and that's the one that is on Idea Scale right now for Fund 7 funding.
So you're actually an SPOP. SPOP, Stake Pool Operator Pool, aren't you? Aren't you? Or a pool of PSPO?
Pool of pools. Yeah.
PSPO? It started here. Bruno, we have to go on to Peter and Dimitri. I'm sorry, we got to cut you off for now because we promised Peter some time. Thankfully, Sean isn't here to present. Otherwise, we'd be going way over time. Which works too. Peter, you're up. Do you need to be, oh good, you got screen share already.
And I just need to unmute now. Okay, everybody can see my screen. Hi, everybody. Very happy to join my very first Cardano for Climate meeting today. And this is an amazing group, and I've met some of you in other channels already. And yeah, it's really great to have a project that can come into this existing environment ecosystem already that with so much moral support and practical support. So yeah, my name is Peter van Gaardran. I'm based out of Vancouver, Canada, and along with Doris van de Koft, who's based in Rotterdam, the Netherlands. I'm one of the co-founders and lead developers for the RealFi Tridano project, which is introducing NFTs for mature trees to the Cardano Web3 ecosystem. So we are requesting Project Catalyst Fund 7 funding to develop a Tridano MVP, which includes requirements analysis and field testing for 2 pilot projects in British Columbia, Canada, where I am based, along with our community ambassador, Moira O'Keefe, and our Cardano for Climate liaison, Melanie, who you're all familiar with. So the problem we're trying to solve is that trees have inherent value because they store carbon, they anchor ecosystems, and they improve livability. But the only way to get monetary value out of a tree is to cut it down and sell it as lumber. There are many exciting initiatives afoot that are finding ways to plant new trees, including NFTs, to fund and sponsor the planting of young seedlings. But it can take decades for those trees to attain the same carbon sink value as the estimated 3 trillion trees that are already in the ground. The Tridano project's mission is to preserve as many of these mature trees as possible as our best line of defense in humanity's epic collective struggle to turn the tide against climate change so that our children and future generations can live comfortably and safely on a healthy planet, hopefully avoiding a dreadful dystopian future with mass extinction events. The Tridano decentralized mobile phone application implements natural capital accounting to tokenize mature trees to reflect their true economic value and incentivize conservation. Natural capital accounting is an emerging methodology that ascribes monetary value to ecological assets like mature trees. In March 2021, the United Nations adopted the System of Environmental Economic Accounting, or the SEEA. This framework integrates economic and environmental data to provide an international standard for natural capital accounting rules and producing internationally comparable statistics and accounts. Tridano will deploy a tangible rapid action implementation of the UN's SEEA framework. Tridano crowdsources and gamifies mature tree inventorying through a fun mobile app game. This DApp will educate users about tree species and their full ecological value. It will also promote healthy and fun lifestyle activities like backcountry hiking and geocaching. Tree pinning actions by our DApp users will be rewarded with Tridano native asset tokens that can be exchanged on Cardano's decentralized exchanges. So the concept is something like iNaturalist that meets TikTok, meets Strava, meets ADA staking rewards. Tridano is intended to provide the missing link between on-chain NF trees and real-world tree protection laws, regulations, and covenants using regularly scheduled proof of tree verification by our on-the-ground DApp users. They will be rewarded with Tridano tokens for these inventorying and verification activities. Unsanctioned tree felling will result in loss of token stakes and lowered network reputation scores. Tridano will be governed by a decentralized autonomous organization that includes a stake-based treasury to fund tokens that reward private property owners, land conservation trusts, and government agencies for helping to reverse unnatural climate change by keeping their mature trees in the ground. Compliance with the UN SEEA framework will provide the opportunity to connect and legitimize Tridano tokens directly on existing open carbon offset markets. This will also expose Tridano to corporate carbon offset purchases, providing their brands with a better greenwash marketing opportunity than the current cynical pay-to-pollute mindset. This is expected to be a major source of funding for the Tridano DAO Treasury, which will stake these investments in a stake pool and issue rewards for pinning, verifying, and preserving mature trees. Can you see this slide? Sorry, this is our roadmap slide. It's not coming up on my other screen. Okay, so our roadmap that we're presenting in our Catalyst proposal is to come up with our use case stories after our first month, the DApp mockup, and to start blogging about our research and activities, including a tokenized tree map proof of concept. And then we will move quickly into a proof of concept for the actual mobile DApp, the NFT minting and off-chain record keeping component, which is really critical for verifying the trustworthiness of the records that the NFTs that we're minting. We will start documenting our technical architecture and begin our pilot with a tree inventory of one Savory Island, BC private property, my own, where it's currently an island that's ecologically unique within the BC environment and ecosystem, but it's undergoing some serious deforestation issues at the moment. So that's partly why I actually thought of the Tridano concept and brought it forward like this. And so the other pilot we'll be doing is inside one of BC's many amazing provincial parks and along the trail there. And Maura will be, as an experienced backcountry hiker, will be helping us with the field testing in that regard. And so the end result after we hopefully win our Catalyst Fund 7 funding is to have an MVP of the Tridano launched on the Cardano testnet and minting 3 full private properties on Savory Island and a full inventory along 2 BC provincial park trails. And we will also begin at that point exploring integration with Itala Prism DID, which is obviously very important for verification that we're dealing with real humans and that people aren't double dipping, and a variety of other criteria that will help deliver. And at the very end of that 3 months, essentially, we will issue the white paper where, as a result of the pilots and our MVP development work, we should have much clearer answers on the technical architecture and the economics and the tokenomics and about how all this will be implemented and work. And then we will very rapidly move after 6 months into extending our pilots. We're currently talking with a local city government that has enforceable urban tree bylaws to integrate that concept as well. We are very interested in working with BC First Nations, who obviously have lots of kindred values as we have for this particular project. And then, yeah, the goal is to get this, get the network effect and get this out to the rest of the world. Which after we do as much work as we can within British Columbia to pilot the project and ensure that it's a sound technical concept, a sound technology, and also dealing with social political issues and other types of things that we are going to anticipate. At that point, then we hope to take the concept out to the rest of the world and make it available. All of this technology will be released under a free and open source MIT license. All the documentation will be issued under the Creative Commons license. And the idea is that other projects can also leverage the Catalyst funded Cardano technology for their own, if they want to do their own sister projects or, branch and fork their own initiatives. We welcome that as well, because frankly, this concept is just too important for one team to hoard and claim for themselves. We want we want to involve everybody that's possible, as much as possible. Whatever method gets us to the end goal, which is to protect as many of the 3 trillion mature trees that are currently still in the ground. Thanks. So yeah, last but not least, then we obviously would. Actually, sorry, I should just before I say thank you. There is no climate change challenge in Fund 7, so we had to find the next best challenge to submit the Cardano proposal in, which ended up being the DApps integration. And that fund has a total of $250,000 available for it. Our budget is somewhere around $59,000 for this project. So we are claiming, a large percentage, 20% of that, and we're in competition with over 100 other proposals in that category. So it's a very competitive challenge. So if our hope is that if people believe in this vision and believe in our team and our values, that we can rally as many, Cardano for Climate like-minded people to actually vote for us and campaign for us to help us win that particular challenge, so that we can implement as soon as possible in the Fund 7 window. Thanks.
So 1 year from now, we can see a template for this to work for other ones. Is that about right, Peter?
Well, after 3 months, really, like all the code and documentation is going to be done on the open on GitHub repo. So anybody that wants to jump in sooner than that is more than welcome to. I would, obviously be probably better for everybody if we work together and let us kind of blaze the trail and focus the energy through our project that way. But it's not stopping anybody from doing the same. And we ourselves, the Cardano project itself, won't make a deliberate effort to market and promote the project outside of the British Columbia pilots until after 1 year, because
I'm just thinking about, in 1 year, a lot of trees can fall, right?
Absolutely.
So
So I mean, part of the reaction is like the UN SEA framework is great, but if you think about how long some of those slow-moving agencies are going to get around to actually doing something about it, I think 1 year is actually pretty quick compared to what the other alternatives are. The challenge is not to overpromise, right? So we can easily say, yes, for sure, we'll do this in 3 months, and we'll be out there, and I don't want to be disingenuous.
Yeah.
Well, I don't want to be disingenuous and promote, and so this concept is a little bit out there. It's a little bit radical. People still are struggling to get their head around it, and frankly, we haven't figured out all the mechanics ourselves either. So it is. I think it's a realistic but still ambitious roadmap to say, give us a year to sort this out in our pilot scenarios. And in the meanwhile,
I hope there's going to be more people jumping on board, to help you and work your way through this, because it is something that's crucial. I'm just looking at the time frame, that this takes time, and once a tree's cut, it doesn't come back. It cannot be replanted the way it was. So there is a crucial. Do you have a backup plan for additional funding? And then we're going to go into you, Jordan. Sorry for jumping in and interrupting your question. Backup plan for funding if you don't get funding this round.
So if we don't get Fund 7 funding, this project will continue to plow ahead. Fund 7 Catalyst funding obviously is the best and more preferred option, because it's, for all intents and purposes, mostly no strings attached. We definitely don't want to go a venture capitalist route, because we feel that I think we are sitting on a very good idea, and I am worried that there's basically Web3 companies and projects out there that are just will see climate change as like a popular topic that they can get profits from. So
so we know from experience though that the funding may or may not come. And my only suggestion would be that if you don't get funding this round, chunk it down into smaller amount. I didn't realize that it was such a big portion of the fund. That's going to be an issue right off the bat with so many different dApps. And no matter how much marketing we do, I don't know that we have the power to sway that. What we could do though, Yoram, is focus IOG attention towards this project. If something else happens, I'm thinking.
Yeah.
I'm just feeling.
First of all, let's be positive. Number one.
I always do the plan B.
And happy to brainstorm a plan B and see how we kick it off.
There is. I've been pursuing this project in some vein for a few years already, and I've been in discussions with the local city government. So part of what triggered me was again the recent serious deforestation happening on Savory Island, I also live in New Westminster, BC, a suburb of Vancouver, and we've had an urban tree bylaw here for a number of years, which is actually a really good effective tool for encouraging discouraging deforestation on city-owned private property in the city. In that course of discussing a possible plan with the city over a few years now, there are other federal and provincial funding out there for ecologically environmental action type projects like this. So, but again, they're very slow moving, and they typically come with all kinds of strings attached. And certainly this project is now launched. We're in our seed phase. The concept is out there. We're committed to doing this. So I'm pretty confident that this is going to fly one way or another, some way or another. But my preferred method is to go through.
It will.
Perfect.
And I'm so sorry to interrupt you again,
Gaardran.
Peter. You know that I do that already. We've had a conversation, and I'm going to jump in and cut him off. We're 10 minutes over time. And I'm looking at Jordan waiting so patiently to ask a question as I've interrupted him several times, and then Ryan. So if we could, and then we'll figure out where we go from there.
Sure. Thanks, guys. And thank you, Peter, for the presentation. I thought about this beforehand because Nori had told me about it. And so I ran through some scenarios in my head, and I wonder if you can give me your thoughts on some of these incentives. I'll just run through, and if you think any of them interesting and you have an answer. So first of all, the government incentive, I thought to myself, offering the government ownership in this makes no sense because it's often already crown land. So does it make sense that when an NF tree is minted, the part of the first sale covers the stump fee, so they're already revenue neutral? Go ahead.
Okay. It'll probably be easier if I answer rather than wait to try to remember all the questions, right?
Go for it. Go for it.
So yeah, the strategy right now for going into is the theory that we're proposing is that public parks belong to every citizen in British Columbia. To make that formula easier, we're going with everybody at the age of majority. And so we will fractionalize the trees based on basically every citizen, BC public citizen can lay a claim to their fractionalized ownership of one of those trees that we'll tokenize in inventory. And so whatever that works out to, X number of million, right, per tree. And that's also going to hopefully encourage people to actually come into the system and claim their ownership and say, oh, you've got this fractional token of this Cardano token that you haven't claimed yet. And by the way, you as a public citizen, taxpayer in British Columbia, you own, this is your tree. So we're not even going to go to the government because that's just going to be more delays and more foot dragging and more like yeah buts. So this is really meant as a rapid action alternative parallel system. And where we will connect to the legitimate systems is through the carbon offset markets, which will legitimize us and eventually force the government to recognize us simply because we're going to be there with network effect and because of citizen demand. So that's kind of this thinking and strategy around that concept.
Understood. So completely different than I came in here with, but I will look forward to just thinking through that. So it seems like you had an app, so there'd be some kind of NF tree hunters or something like that looking for large trees.
That's right. I like that name, NF tree hunters.
And I was concerned about if a new country joins, suddenly there's this NF tree hunters, there's all these new trees and it can crash the market. So I considered a scenario where NF tree hunters are paid with a governance token, which also in some way makes them acts as a market maker in the same way that
that's right.
an
So now
stablecoin might work.
Correct. So the Treasury itself, we will seed the Treasury. The Treasury itself will operate as a stake pool. Because of how important it is to the business case and logic and algorithmic conditions of the tokenomics, I don't think necessarily from off my first analysis, this is a good candidate for what Nori's proposing. I think we should be our own independent stake pool at the beginning, at least. But that will essentially see, like we'll find seed funding. We'll actually create, there's a number of formulas, obviously ISPOs and other things to start building the actual balance in that account. And those tokens we will issue as rewards. So if you go out there, if you're an NF tree hunter and you're using Adapt and now you've inventoried a tree, and you will be rewarded with a token. This will incentive. You're not necessarily a private property owner. You're not claiming your fractionalized share of a public. You're actually getting rewarded for the act of inventorying a tree, and then also verifying the proof of tree a year later or so later to ensure it's still in the ground. So that's a separate activity that we're rewarding for our on-the-ground crowdsourced army to go out and do this kind of work, which is going to be easy to do in easily accessible places. And we can also use satellite imagery and that kind of thing. But we would like to, that's what's kind of being done in a lot of cases for natural capital accounting now. But we would like to go one step further and make this an on-the-ground thing. And that's where people like Moira, who's like a very active backcountry hiker, will come in to say, and this is where the competitive part comes in. We'll have leaderboards to say, social media is to say, I've been into this part of I've actually made it into this really inaccessible part of the public park, and I've inventoried these trees. They're going to be GPS, they're going to be photoed. We're going to do like TikTok little video dance in front of the tree. Now you kind of sponsoring this tree. It's kind of your tree or trees, right? And so that's how we're kind of incentivizing the on-the-ground inventorying piece of it. But they will be directly rewarded with their own token. And so yeah,
I'm gonna make a suggestion, because Peter, you are so full of information and energy. You could, and we're running out of time. Is it possible, Jordan, for you and Peter to take the rest of your questions elsewhere?
Yeah.
And I'm going to just give an opportunity to Ryan to ask one. Excellent questions, though. And what happens is it really fleshes out this proposal, and I absolutely love it. If you guys could actually record something, and that's the other suggestion I would like to do, is if Nori and Jem and yourself, Peter, if you wanted to upload this meeting video to the comments or chop it down into yours, add it to your videos, to your comments on your proposal. And then people can see, the ongoing process of how these projects are evolving. And it fleshes out what's going on, as well as your presentation too, Peter. If you could, have links to that in your comments, it's very helpful for voters, because we can't add anything else to the proposal.
I will give it.
Yeah.
One remark about that. Yeah. No, go, Peter, bro. Sorry.
So yeah, the slide deck I was just whipping up this morning in preparation for this meeting, and of course it helps focus my energy to present here as well. But the goal is to have a more fleshed out version of that for Idea Fest this weekend, and then that's the one we'll post and do a proper recording, a 5-minute recording, and that make that kind of our promo video for the time being.
But Melanie, my suggestion is, I read also the proposal online, and to be honest, when you present it like this, even with some question and answer, it's so much better.
Yeah.
And it's so much
So
easier.
Idea Fest is good.
But Idea Fest is too late, right? Maybe we can do it just before the CA start. We do a session with everyone that have a presentation related for climate, and we do the session and record it and we put it online for the CAs, because it's much easier for the CAs to understand the proposal with a presentation.
Unfortunately, I think we thought, but the CAs are done though, isn't it? Like, aren't they done tomorrow?
Yeah. No, for next time. This is for the future. But
okay, perfect. This is a great idea, Yoram. because then we can timestamp it and everybody's is going to be in there. And then the CAs can go to it. Perfect. Absolutely perfect. Because, you know, reading the proposals is one thing, but actually listening to this and hearing passion, seeing the person, who they are, they're real. Absolutely fantastic idea. Ryan, thank you so much for your patience.
No worries. So do you have a tree done yet? Just offline without all the blockchain behind it? Just like one tree that shows the value?
No, not yet. I've done tree inventorying using the iNaturalist app. So I have several using that, but I haven't yet adapted. Like that's what we're asking for funding for, right? Is to actually start that development. So
because I tried to read the SEEA, man, that is a lot of information, man. That is a deep dive to figure out how they were quantifying it and monetizing it. It's not even their not even really their concern. It's kind of a way to take it farther, from what I gather.
Yeah, there's different parts of the, like SEA is kind of a shorthand for SEA is shorthand for a whole umbrella of specifications and standards. So we're still kind of working our way through them. I agree that like it's a total morass right now, but like the end of the day, like this, you know, it's to legitimize ourselves to the Web 2 and mainstream world. This is like, we see this as the kind of the tool that we use to do that. And also this like, you know, for this wacky Web3 project to like try to introduce itself into existing open carbon offset markets. Like if we can comply with existing standards like that, we see that as the mechanism to do that. So but like, yeah, that's just, you know, it's one of those things where like people say, hey, great project, have you got this? It's like, well, no, that the project is to develop that. So it's like, you know, like there's like a chicken and egg kind of thing still, right? So and obviously we'll still continue to do as much research work leading up to hopefully Fund 7 funding starting March 1st. But like the majority of, you know, there's a lot of answers we don't have yet, because that's where we're actually asking funding for, is to say, this is the idea. We need funding to flesh it out and prove that it actually works. And figuring out exactly how we implement SEA is part of that puzzle. If that makes any sense.
Peter, would you consider, you know, maybe taking more questions and recording that meeting on Zoom?
Yeah, I mean, maybe as you're
possibly,
talking, maybe we should just have our own, our own kind of, you know, maybe
just
even
put it out there in the chat and just say, you know,
like our own kind of like breakout or something like that somewhere. It's, I don't know whether it's tagging along to an existing event, whether we should just schedule our own event. Like I'll think about that, and any feedback you guys have on that would be appreciated. We can carry this on in the Telegram group, right? We can discuss it there.
We actually do that. We can do that in this type of a meeting. Simon can set up some breakout rooms. I didn't realize how this would go today, but you know, we'll definitely do that in the future. And next week is the VCAs working on it. There'll be a voting, you know, the following week. So we've got, maybe that's what we'll do is next week is do a breakout room. But if you feel like you've connected with Ryan and
Sean from Littercoin, who's not here today. So he's
Sean and
he's
Edwin.
done some excellent work on the mapping component already that we can.
If there's some way that you guys could work out your own meeting and hash this out and record it, we can put that on our channel, right? It doesn't have to be us initiating this. We don't have to begin it. You guys do that.
Well, we're going to do it anyway. Yeah, that's right. So, and we appreciate
do
this
it.
forum, right? So
record it.
Again,
record it. And then I just have to get the logistics figured out. So record it, and then we can load it, upload it to our channel. And then we can, you know, link things to this information. Perfect. Okay, go ahead.
Oh, me? Sorry. Yeah, no, that sounds great. We're still figuring, like, in my mind right now is we definitely wanted to have an informational video ready for the week. That I totally agree with Yoram that like this whole concept would work better as a presentation. And as a matter of fact, so I'm going to record the 5-minute slide deck for Idea Fest as our first informational video, but I think it needs to be even more effective. So I'm consulting with a videographer right now to put together a proper 3-minute promo video for this. And,
perfect.
And then our goal is to have at least that in place in time for when the voting starts, so that when the voters click on the link in the voting app, that they're taken to not just me as a talking head in front of a slide deck, but a proper informational video. Now, the problem is that we ran into is that IdeaSkill only lets you insert YouTube links, because we thought we could get around by just putting a URL in that we controlled and that we could redirect
Put it in the
to a more
comment.
updated video. Yeah, I just realized what you said there. But still, I think it's still the issue is that at the end of the day, what counts. So first, what's going to count the most now is the actual CA ranking.
Rating.
So that the rating, sorry, because that means that that's going to determine where you end up in the voting app, right? And then after that, it's like actually being able to link to a proper video from inside the voting app as well. So, you know, that's how, and then this thing that you're talking about, like a more deep dive, like kind of interview style thing, I think is good for.
Let's do that though, because it just came to me now that all our proposals in Cardano for Climate should be uploading their videos to our channel. And then
when you say our channel, which one, you mean the YouTube channel?
Yeah, YouTube channel. So it could be, you know, so then we advertise that and we link it and say, go to our YouTube channel. These are the proposals that have submitted around climate change if you're interested. And then we start gathering them. I came across proposals in IdeaScale last night I've never heard of. And I'm going, why aren't you in Cardano for Climate? I don't understand this. Like how are we so tiny in this big ecosystem, so lost? So if we can start collecting the information where people can find us and they can find the proposals that are related to, it's just, I think it's our job to become that hub and that center for people to come. Okay, Nori, thank you so much. And we got to close this up because we're a half hour over or something. And yep, half hour over, and we've got another meeting in an hour, right? Is that right? Town hall in an hour. Okay, so I'll put it out there on the Telegram chat and Discord to do a video presentations, and we'll figure out, Simon's left, I think, but we'll figure out how to upload those to.
Still here.
Oh, Simon, thanks. You're behind your Aurora.
Yeah. Sorry.
I have an Aura and you have an Aurora. But yeah, we'll upload them.
Town hall is in 1 hour or 2 hours?
1 hour.
1 hour.
1 hour. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry, I feel like I've rushed everybody.
No, I mean, we can. Sorry. It's good. It's
I
good
appreciate
to
the
have you
opportunity,
here.
and there's lots of important topics discussed. There's only so many hours in a day or so many minutes in a meeting, right? Unfortunately. So I think it was all very valuable, and I appreciate everybody's input, and I love hearing all the other presentations too.
No, but that's one thing related to that. I think that everyone should think. I mean, we need really everyone, as it's growing very nicely, and we see the passion, how much passion, and we can speak for hours, right? So we need everyone feedback and ideas and initiatives, really, how to continue and use this platform and grow it in the right way. And one example is, again, that you take a vertical and you run with that with teams and continue discussions, but we still share the information in a central place somehow to everyone to see. But everyone, open your minds and think how we continue and grow it and support each other, because I think there's an incredible passion here. Yeah.
We have no idea what this will turn into. So we're also expanding our core team, trying to figure out what else we can do. Jacob has come on board, just lurking in the background, seeing what he can do and how we can help organize us. I understand why Charles says that he wants to become a little fish. I'm already feeling like I want to go back to a little fish, so that people don't know me and I can just sort of connect, back to, and Yorm goes, oh my God, don't do that. But you know what? It just feels like we need more help. We need, people to come in, the uploading the YouTubes, the timestamps, the translations. There's so much more that we can do as we start adding more of these gifts and these hearts and these minds and hands to this group. It's absolutely fantastic. So
I mean, just the things we talked today. I mean, mind blowing. 3, 4 different things. How we put them together. How we push them forward. You know, how we support the different projects. There's so much to do, right? And so a lot of people can help to drive and do the connections. And everyone is welcome to the core team and come and brainstorming, do, and eventually.
Thanks, Ryan, for looking at that link. Sorry to interrupt, Yoram.
Yeah, no,
A shared that with me in Discord, and I knew somebody would look at it and go, "Oh, I need that," and I'm glad you picked it up. So it's a link in there about Filecoin. Take a look at it. I have no idea, but I do trust A from Gimbal Labs, and any information that he gives us is going to go straight through me to everybody else. So it's something to look at if he sends it.
Perfect.
Jacob, did you have anything to?
Can you link
sorry?
the proposal? I mean, Peter, can you link the proposal?
Yes, absolutely.
Oh.
Then I got a PDF version here. Can I load files? Let me see.
Yeah, drag and drop, I think.
Did you have something to say?
Yes, well, you know, there's a lot going on, and I feel like last time we spoke, you know, I feel like some kind of standardization might help. And I was thinking that maybe, you know, for all the projects that fell into the Cardano for Climate category, we could make a presentation, a Google slide template where, you know, one slide per project, all the crucial links, picture of the founder. You know, we can work out a template that will just in one slide, one screen, tell a brief story. And then it will be very easy to navigate through these and say, you know, put the names to faces, find the proposals. I think it's easy and low-hanging fruit, really.
You know, this is why we have to open it up to everybody. You're going to make me cry because it's a genius idea, right? Having a slide. So next town hall. I hope, I don't know, Simon, if anything's happened for our meeting for our slide at the breakout rooms, just before the breakout rooms where Swarm announces all the different meetings like Player Mint. We don't have one yet. And I've asked Felix, put it out there to see if he might use our meetup screen for now. But that's the screen we need, Jacob, is this, and it'll go in town hall. And then we have some sort of a, you know, somewhere similar to the Swarm, it's got the black background, but we can show, and maybe in the shape of the snail somehow, you know, how it's growing. I don't know how it will work, but you know, that's
figure that out. I think, you know, it's important that this slide template is kind of functional. So, you know, I would have all necessary links, you know, a very short
we need
part.
we need one for town hall, just when, you know, Felix or whoever announces the different meetings throughout the week, so that we can announce our Wednesday meeting. And the other slide that you're talking, about, we could have somewhere. We'll figure out where it belongs, but yeah, for sure.
Awesome. Sounds good. I'll try to put something together, see what you guys think. You know, it will be an iterative effort, so feel free to throw in some ideas.
Perfect.
Cool.
Okay, anything else? Anybody? Any other inspiration before we go?
We should
Take a
stop
break.
apologizing for running over. We run over every time. It's just expected.
Well, you know what?
I just wanted to.
This meeting used to be 3 people, you know, at the very beginning, and now we filled up a full screen and we go over. So it's pretty awesome. Hey, Tyler, nice to see you.
Hello, I've been listening the whole time. This is amazing. Hey, Yoram, did you discuss the regenerative meetup that we're doing on Friday yet?
No, please promote it. And
It's at 1700 UTC. You don't have a link yet because I thought we needed a fancy Zoom account, but just stay posted on the Telegram group and on Discord, and we will have the link up there through Meetup, most likely, it sounds like. And yeah, just welcoming any conversation around regenerative agriculture. There's been a whole lot of activity since our breakout room at the last conference. And we've got an exciting guest speaker for the next conference, which is date to be decided. But I guess we'll figure that out soon when that date is. But yeah, the regenerative meetup, it's this Friday, 700 UT, and hope to see you there.
But Taylor, you have to suggest a date already, right? I mean, everyone welcome to stay. Let's decide a date.
For the conference.
Yeah, I mean, we need to fix it up and Taylor have an idea in mind.
This is what I love about Yoram, you guys. He's the like, let's do it now. Let's figure it now. We're not putting it on the back burner and we're getting it done. So January we're talking about, but so we want to also consider catalyst stages. And
yeah, that
Tyler,
will be already voting.
I'm sorry, I got to go back to Tyler though. The meetup, Nori is the one that's been putting the meetup information in. I can do it, but I don't know how. Do you have access to that? To putting in the meetup?
I don't, but I will message you and Nori afterwards and see if.
Yeah, ask Nori or Felix. Nori or Felix how to put that on the meetup, and then good. Jacob's got to go.
Great.
Okay, good.